While we've only seen a few of Donald Trump's cabinet nominations, they're already a nightmare. We've got MAGA hardliners and extremists lining up, ready to push dangerous agendas. One of the worst? A weekend Fox News host now set to run the Department of Defense. But the most shocking move just dropped tonight, as Donald Trump revealed on Truth Social that he's making a special spot in his administration, not just for Elon Musk but also for VC Ramaswamy. That's right, the so-called Department of Government Efficiency is coming, and it should alarm all of us. It's not just because Trump owes Elon Musk and is giving him free rein to dismantle our government any way he sees fit to help himself and his billionaire friends. The real kicker is a recently resurfaced video of Elon that's now blowing up in Trump's face. We'll dive into all of it, but first, if you could quickly leave a like on this video and hit that subscribe button, it would mean the world to me. Now, before we get to Elon's video that's back in the spotlight, let's look at what Trump posted about them on Truth Social. Here's what he said in his official statement. I am pleased to announce that the great Elon Musk, working in conjunction with American patriot VC Ramaswamy, will lead the Department of Government Efficiency. Together these two wonderful Americans will pave the way for my administration to dismantle government bureaucracy, excess regulations, cut wasteful expenditures, and restructure federal agencies essential to the Save America movement. This will send shockwaves through the system and anyone involved in government waste, which is a lot of people, stated Mr. Musk. Donald Trump, Elon, and Vivek want to sell this as eliminating waste, slashing red tape, and making life easier for businesses. But that's just the cover story. The real plan? It's a chance for Elon and Vivek to take a machete to our government, gutting anything that actually benefits everyday Americans, while ensuring they have free rein to target their political enemies from within. That's the agenda here. Like Kamala Harris once pointed out, Trump has his enemies list. She had a to-do list. I only wish we had chosen the to-do list. And if you're skeptical about how extreme Elon and Vivek's ideas really are, let's take a look at what Vivek himself said about the so-called Department of Government Efficiency. It's so out there that even Jesse Waters couldn't keep a straight face. Let's check it out.
The dirty little secret is a lot of these agency heads, they're really themselves just the figureheads. If you get many of those people speaking candidly, what they will tell you is in their multi-thousand person organizations, they don't even have power in what really occurs. It's 3-4 layers down these organizations. So I personally believe, this is my opinion, I think we need a 75% headcount reduction across the board. What Elon did to Twitter, what countless other business leaders do to failing companies, that's what we need to do to this failing federal bureaucracy. The mass deportation of millions of illegals from this country, I favor it. But the mass deportation I really favor is millions of unelected federal bureaucrats out of Washington, D.C. That's how we get this country back.
Can we put you in charge of that? Can you just go in there and just shed 20% of the bureaucracy?
I'm talking 75%.
75%, all right.
That was a core premise of my presidential candidacy. But I would say President Trump shares that same spirit. When he said drain the swamp, that's part of what he meant. Now, one of the things to know, Jesse, is the Supreme Court has given us some great precedents this year. A president has never been more armed to actually take down this bureaucracy than he has been right now. So to those who will say, why didn't President Trump do it in 2017? Well, the answer is he didn't have the legal and constitutional toolkit that the Supreme Court has now given us. So I think it's a unique moment in our history.
It is, and he'll have a mandate if he's reelected. Thank you very much.
So Vivek, much like Elon, and of course Donald Trump, has this obsession with firing people, and they're dead set on gutting the government by cutting 75 to 95% of its employees. It's laughable. Even Jesse Waters couldn't keep a straight face, and when someone like Waters thinks an idea is too extreme, you know you've gone off the deep end. Elon's track record speaks volumes too. His mass firings at Twitter tanked the company's value, and if you're still on that platform, as much as I hate to admit that I am, you know it's now a much worse product. These two have no clue what they're doing. They're just angry, vengeful, and entirely self-serving. And that goes double for Elon. I've said it before, and I'll say it again, Elon has different motives than Trump, and he made those crystal clear in a video that recently resurfaced, laying out what he thinks his real role would be in a Trump administration.
So if you were, well, you can't be president of the U.S., last time I checked, right? But assume you are.
Not officially.
Not officially. Okay, so you're the unofficial president.
Elon Musk wants to be a shadow president, an unofficial leader behind the scenes. Just because he was laughing doesn't mean he wasn't serious. He's telling us exactly what he wants. Elon craves as much power as he can grab. He wants total control. That's why he's bought influence with Donald Trump. It's all about serving his own interests, and yeah, maybe he and Trump have that in common. But let's be clear, Elon isn't aiming to cut government waste. He's working to set things up to benefit himself as much as possible, and he's got a long list of enemies he's ready to go after. This is a huge problem for Trump too, because it makes him look weak, like he's just a puppet letting the rich pull his strings while he picks fights with his usual enemies. That should worry us all, but it also kind of shows Trump's true colors. If Elon thinks he can just sideline Trump and do things his way, that relationship is going to blow up soon enough. But right now, we need to focus on what we can do going forward, which is exactly what Hakeem Jeffries was talking about tonight on the Ari Melber Show Star. Let's take a look at that.
Moving to what you're doing now, you got the House Speaker saying basically they're prepared. They're not going to make the mistakes of the first term. They're going to come in even faster and harder and more sort of unified on MAGA priorities. Can you tell us what your priorities are now going into this second term where the House, based on some projections, is likely to be retained by the Republican control? What are you guys going to be doing?
Well, we're going to work with our colleagues on the other side of the aisle in the incumbent administration, whether we're in the majority or not, and that remains to be seen. There are a handful of races, particularly in California, that need to be called that will ultimately determine the majority one way or the other. One thing we know, Ari, is going to be very close. This is not a situation where in Donald Trump's first term, when he was sworn in on January 20th, there were 241 Republicans in the House of Representatives and only 194 Democrats. They have already demonstrated in this Congress that they cannot completely govern on their own with the narrow majority that they currently have, and if they're so fortunate, the narrow majority that they will still have. So that's a significant difference. That will give us the opportunity to be very clear. We'll find bipartisan common ground on any issue in order to make life better for the American people and deliver real results whenever and wherever possible. But we are not going to bow down to the extremism, and will push back against it whenever necessary in defense of our institutions, American values, the rule of law, and the quality of life for working class Americans, which is what, at the end of the day, we're all about. We want to see people get ahead, not just get by. And those are the policies that we will drive as we move forward.
Congressman, you know, we've had these conversations. I am curious what you say to someone who might be open-minded or even lean towards agreeing with you that there should be a constitutional republic, co-equal democracy, co-equal branches. But in the political scenario we're in, A, they may control the executive and both branches of the legislature, both parts. B, you see what the Supreme Court has done. That's out of your control, but they've written him a license to do most things. And then C, the Republican Party, which once stood for more limited government and co-equal checks, they seem to be having auditions for their own Senate leader, according to Donald Trump's demands that they give up Senate powers, like the power to advise and consent and confirm nominees. Now, that's the upper branch, not your branch. But what do you say to someone tonight, Congressman, who looks at all that and says, I guess this whole experiment is coming to an end, and if the Democrats don't even have subpoena power in the House, then we're going to have a kind of strong person rule, at least in the short term. What do you say to that person? Is that just a clear-eyed problem to look at, or is that cynical? What do you say to them?
We've been on a 248-year journey as a country, and there have been trials and tribulations, twists and turns throughout. There is no doubt. We cannot sugarcoat it. That last Tuesday's result was a setback in the eyes of tens of millions of Americans, including many of the people that I'm privileged to represent back home in Brooklyn. But a setback, in my view, is nothing more than a setup for a comeback. And we've got to make sure that, as has always been the case, whenever America confronts adversity, we come back through the moment to come out stronger on the other side. And that's what we're committed to do as House Democrats on behalf of the American people. Not Democrats, independents, and Republicans, on behalf of the American people.
These are dangerous individuals we're up against. People we have to actively work to stop from tearing down our government. We know their aim, their goal. It's about enriching themselves, using power to go after their enemies. That's their focus. We tried to warn voters, but sadly, they didn't listen. I hate to say it, but now, a lot of people are going to face a harsh reality of what happens when unchecked corruption is allowed to take over. That's what Elon's about, that's what Vivek is about, and as we saw over those 4 years, it's exactly what Trump is about, even if millions seem to have forgotten. So we have to fight back, every single day, and do everything we can to prevent Donald, Elon, and Vivek from wrecking this country. Hopefully, along the way, they'll fracture their own alliances and we'll see more of that MAGA civil war than anything else. But we can't just sit and hope, we have to act. And that's what this show is dedicated to every day. If you want to support our mission, hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you made it to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Until next time, stay strong.